Hello and good morning. Welcome to our weekly live show here in the Yoga Teacher Collaborative. As you know by now, I like to come on, a minute or two early just to give you time to get that notification to come join me live and also for me to find it on my computer. So we will begin in a couple of minutes time. So, if you're still grabbing a cup of tea or anything like that, that is totally fine. Just leave me waffling on in the background. Let's see who we've got. So if you're here live and waiting, please pop me a comment. Let's feel that community spirit. Let's know who is here. If you see me just looking over, it's because I'm on my phone here and I can see the comments over on my computer next to me. All right, what's been going on? Whilst we wait, tell me what you've been up to. Did you have a read of the Pop the Champagne yesterday? It was amazing to see what everybody is up to. Katerina, welcome. Nice to have you. Sarah, welcome. Sean, hello. AJ, I know it's not AJ. I know that's what you use on Facebook, but I've forgotten, my love, but nice to see you for a second time today. Gemma, morning. Good to have you live. How are you, darling? Becky, hello. So as said, I like to come on just a couple of minutes early because I know it can be a pain to find a Facebook live. So just to give people a moment to find us. Vivian, hello, my love. Okay. Diane, good morning. Diane, am I getting to see you later, darling? We've got our Q&A and closing circle. I hope you can make it. Be nice to catch up. Jan, welcome, good morning. Alana, AJ, thank you. Alana, thank you. I will remember that now. Nice to have you at yoga as well. Right, I suggest that we begin bang on 10:30. So welcome to the Yoga Teacher Collaborative and our weekly live show, 20 minutes of training on either the business, mindset, or teaching skills. We have lots of new people in the group right now, so if I've not met you before, my name is Laura. I am a yoga teacher, been teaching for about 11 years now, a teacher trainer of a 200-hour school and soon a 300-hour, and a mentor for yoga teachers with a clear mission to elevate the yoga teaching community so that we can thrive supporting our communities with good local yoga and thriving ourselves in our business, in our health, and in our own yoga. Before we go into today's topic, which is actually a teaching topic, we're talking a little sequencing today, just wanted to cover something else off first. I honestly believe, and I know you will have heard this before, so it's nothing new, that the people you surround yourself with has a huge effect on your outlook, how you're showing up in your life, and what you believe is possible for you. And this is part of what's behind the Yoga Teacher Collaborative, this elevate, thrive, celebrate each other, celebrate yoga teachers, really see the good work that we are doing in the world. Because prior to this, I'd seen a lot of kind of grumbles about, you can't be successful as a yoga teacher and all the challenges and all the hardships of trying to make it in this competitive, oversaturated market. And I think we get stuck in that bubble, in that echo chamber, in that feedback. And it is not how the picture has to be. When you lean into collaboration, when you lean into serving your students, serving your community, showing up in different ways, you can thrive. And if you haven't yet, I would like you to go back to yesterday's Pop the Champagne post and read the comments. So you start to really change what you think is possible for you as a yoga teacher. Read the comments from yesterday. We had a book deal, a published book from Rachel Smithbone, published book today. Happy book publishing day, Rachel. We had sold out yoga retreats. We had sold out back-to-back classes, sold out day events. We had one lady, Sarah, I think, attracted 25 new students. We have people thriving What you want to achieve is possible. You just have to create that mindset, and being in this group, commenting, reading back on comments, surrounding yourself with people who celebrate, collaborate, thrive, inspire, share. We pull ourselves up together. So go back and read the comments from yesterday's Pop the Champagne. And if you have something to celebrate, put that in there too. It is important for your elevation and for us as a community. Okay, so over into today's session. So this is a different topic for us. We are looking at sequencing. And this is something I often like to train on, do CPDs on, do courses on, the art and science of sequencing. When I started teaching about 11 years ago, it was actually unusual for someone to sequence, for someone to come to a class with a lesson plan, with notes at the top of your mat. It was felt very much that you couldn't adapt to the energy of the room. But that is not what I found. I have always liked to craft journeys, craft experiences for my students. And I find if I lesson plan and sequence in advance in a creative, heartfelt space, I can create much more powerful journeys for my students than actually having to feel the pressure to create the sequence live on the spot with my class and remember what I've done on one side to do it on the other. So I am an absolute advocate of sequencing. And I don't think that sequencing and lesson planning restricts our ability to respond to the energy in the moment. You know when you're walking with a lesson plan that it is a living thing. We don't stick to our plan. It adapts, it molds based on what's happening in the room, but at least we have a rough roadmap. There are many different ways to sequence, and we all probably have our go-to favorites. But it's nice to know a couple of different approaches for those days when your inspiration isn't feeling so buoyant. Flip the technique and see what comes. So you might not have done this before, and I urge you to give this plan a try. Plan it out and share your plans in the group to inspire each other and if you want feedback. This is called, very fancy, bilaterally symmetrical sequencing. So what is that? Imagine that you're going on a walk, going for a walk in the woods. You have a choice of doing a circular walk, or you have a choice of doing a straight walk where you walk into the destination, turn around and walk straight back out. Bilaterally symmetrical sequencing is like that second option, taking a walk straight in. If your class is 60 minutes, taking a 30-minute flow in. Once you get to the destination point, turning around and taking that same journey in reverse order. So why is this powerful? It really creates a journey of observation because your students will do a pose and then they will come back to it. Think about, again, when you go on a walk, you follow that path in and you enjoy the view, you notice it. When you take that same path back out, it looks and feels totally different when you're walking in reverse. Same as a bilaterally symmetrical sequencing. So grab a piece of paper, let's break this down together. Bilaterally symmetrical. You plan a 30-minute class, then you repeat it in reverse order. So it's great to start with, where are you going to finish your class? Are you going to finish your class in Shavasana? If so, will that be traditional Shavasana, lying on your back or constructive rest? Or will you be maybe using a variation Shavasana on your tummy or on your side? But most of the time, we're straight out on the back. Will you be doing meditation after Shavasana or Pranayama or not? Doesn't matter, but decide what that final point is. So let's say for ease that the last part of your class is going to be a classic Shavasana lying on your back. So you get your lesson plan, however you do it, write or draw in that final posture, Shavasana, that final moment. Then if that is where you end, that is also where you begin. This is symmetrical. So you'll go back to the beginning of your lesson plan and put in Shavasana. And this is where we start the journey of exploration, because how you feel walking straight into a yoga class and coming straight into Shavasana is going to be very different to how you feel virtually an hour later at that closing Shavasana. So this is amazing for your students because it gets them to notice immediately the powerful effects of taking 60 minutes of yoga. Well, if your class is longer, it's fine. But it gives you a time to immediately see the power of yoga. So I love this with beginners as well. So start and end in the same place, Shavasana. Get them to notice, how does the body feel in that opening Shavasana? How does it feel in the closing Shavasana? How is their mind in that opening Shavasana? Is it hard to focus? Is it easier to be more content in stillness in the Shavasana at the end? And then the breath. When you just arrived in class, boom, Shavasana. How's that breath? Probably a little shallow, a little distorted. And then they can come back to comparing the breath at the end when they've had that mindful journey. Is the breath smoother, more even, more restful? Immediately your students get to see the transformative power of yoga. So we have our two Savasanas. Then I know the beginning of my walk, I know the end of my walk. I like to know what is the midpoint, what is the destination. So you've walked into the woods, what's the turnaround point? So about 30 minutes into your class, what is the peak of your class going to be? So I did this last week and I'm going to share the lesson plan and the recording of the class with you. So my peak was half moon. So then right smack bang in the middle of the lesson plan, put your peak. So I put half moon. Then that is your turnaround point. So you're going to do it twice. Whatever that pose is, half moon on the right leg, on the left leg. Tadasana, a moment to notice you've arrived before you turn around. Then repeat it again. Okay. So now I know my beginning, my middle, the main point of the destination, and my end. Now I can fill in the other sections. So what comes next in your yoga class? It is going to be a warm-up. Shavasana into a warm-up. So whatever poses you use in your warm-up, you're going to use exactly the same poses to prepare the body for Shavasana at the end. So again today, or this week, we did Shavasana, then we hugged the knees into the chest, and then we did reclining pigeon and a twist. So you put that in, Shavasana, hug the knees into the chest, you're really starting to notice the body moving, connecting, reclining pigeon and a twist. Then come back to the end of the class and put that in reverse. So immediately before that last Shavasana, you'll hug the knees into the chest. Just before that, there'll be that reclining pigeon, and your students can really notice how does that reclining pigeon feel in comparison to 55 minutes ago. Before that, the twist. So everything is the mirror image of what it was at the beginning. And then you continue this format for the whole class. Shavasana, your warm up, you finish Shavasana, your cool down. Then you'll be coming into, are you doing sun salutes? I don't often in a bilaterally symmetrical, but how are you starting to build some heat? What is your standing sequences? And then all of that in mirror, reverse order. Okay, hoping that's making sense. If it isn't, remember after this, I'm going to post you a lesson plan so you can visually see it. And I'm going to post you the hour-long replay of this week's class so you can take yourself through the journey and see how it feels for you. So why would you do this? As you said, I've been really saying it's great as a journey of observation for your students so they can see what has changed, what has adapted. Also gives you the opportunity to serve a mixed level class. Because the first time you do every pose, keep a fairly simplistic variation. So just a gentle hug the knees into the chest, a really easy twist. Then when you come back to it, you can repeat that more simple variation, potentially more suitable for newer students. But also you can give the option for a different variation for those that have been doing yoga a little longer. So again, coming back to my lesson plan this week, Shavasana, hug the knees into the chest, reclining pigeon, simple reclining twist. Then when I revisited that twist, there was the option to keep a simple reclining twist, or I added eagle legs into the twist. So it's a chance to give a slightly more exploratory variation. Again, in the sequence I did today, near the beginning, we had a low lunge into Ardha Hanumanasana, that runner's lunge, that hamstring stretch. That felt pretty tight early on in the class, kind of in the warm-up. But when we came back to it after the standing flow, there was the option in that low lunge, lizard lunge, to then come down onto the elbows. Or there was the option to take that half Ardha Hanuman, half splits, into a fuller splits for those that wish to. So it really helps you adapt to a more mixed level class. Also, if you are repeating the poses, the second time you don't have to give as much verbal cues, especially if you're not adding in more variations. So it might be the first time through in the sequence when you do Warrior 2, you are cueing the alignment of it. You know, the feet, the knees, the openness in the chest. And then when you revisit it on the mirror, on the walk out, you might say, rise up into Warrior 2, because you know you've just cued your students through that, so you don't have to be giving them as much verbal instruction, and they can really come into their breath and the more meditative focus of the class, not having to listen to you cue. So you can use that journey out to make a more student-led, introspective, breath-led, not having to take verbal cues. You could use that journey out to add differing variations, differing options for mixed levels. As I said, it's great for all students to see immediately how much they change in an hour's class, the transformative power of yoga in the moment. Then on top of that, another reason I like bilaterally symmetrical. You know those weeks when you haven't left quite as much time as you needed to for lesson planning. The days got away from you, something extra came onto your to-do list. I had to take my cat to the vets this morning, stuff you didn't expect to have to do. Lesson planning a bilaterally symmetrical class takes half the time, because you plan a 30-minute class and then you reverse it. So on those days you don't have quite enough time, have a go at bilaterally symmetrical. On those days when you're lacking a little bit of inspiration, a little creative spark, try bilaterally symmetrical just to give you that new feeling. On that day, you're like, oh, this class is a really mixed level. Give bilaterally symmetrical a try. I mean, again, I teach a chair yoga class. In my chair class, some of them can only stay in the chair and some of them want to stand. So again, bilaterally symmetrical works so well for the chair class because we do all of the class, or the first 30 minutes seated in the chair. Then we reverse it and have that choice for anyone who wants to do those poses standing, or anyone who wants to stay seated in the chair without me having to worry about having to give double instructions. So again, I did that this week, yesterday. So my chair class had eagle in it. So, you know, seated eagle, cross the legs, cross the arms. When we reversed it, some people stayed in the chair with seated eagle, some people did it standing. Same. First time round, we did Warrior 2 on the chair. Second time round, some people did it standing. So it gives you so much scope for mixed level teaching. I think that's probably it all. So do comment if you have any questions on bilaterally symmetrical sequencing, because it can feel a little hard to get your thoughts around it to begin with, which is why I'm going to post in the comments a photo of a lesson plan. I'm going to post up in the top a link to a replay of my class from this week so that you can take yourself through bilaterally symmetrical. Oh, I knew there was another point. 2 minutes and one more point. The tricky thing with bilaterally symmetrical is the timing, okay? So you need to know that if it's taking you 30 minutes to get to your peak, you pretty much got to turn around at 30 minutes. So it's going to take you 30 minutes to reverse it. So you want to really watch the timing. You don't want to get to your peak pose and it taking you 45 minutes and you've only got 15 minutes left to reverse it. So you want to be quite good on timing, keep an eye on the clock. The first time you do it, for that reason, I wouldn't tell your students what you're doing. Just in case the timing goes awry and you don't have the time left to do all of the poses in reverse order. So do it a couple of times without telling them. And in all honesty, if I didn't tell my students what we were doing when we do bilaterally symmetrical, I don't think they would notice, because often I layer in different variations on the way out. But then after a while, once you get more confident with this sequencing style, tell your students. And I will say, we're doing bilaterally symmetrical today. This is like a walk into the woods and back out, so you can observe the difference. Okay? Siobhan, let me just read this. I love this idea. Do you have to do all of the postures on both sides within your 30 minutes? Or what? Yes, great question, Siobhan. Yes, absolutely. So you do, it's almost like you have a 30-minute class. So you plan 30 minutes, do all postures on both sides. Then when you turn around and come back out, again, you do all postures on both sides. So this would mean if your class has warrior 2, you would do warrior 2 on the right, warrior 2 on the left. Then when you come back to it, you do warrior 2 on the right, warrior 2 on the left. So they'd be doing 4 warrior poses. Again, students like repetition. That second time they come into the warrior, they're getting more familiar with it. Week before last, I did a particularly creative flow, and we did it twice on each side. So the first time the students are listening to instruction, having to process it, whereas the second time they tune me out, tune into them, and it's just them doing their yoga. So don't worry about the repetition, but do just evenly spread out poses that have a bent leg, you know, like warrior 2 to side angle and back again. Your thigh might get a little bit grumpy. So just spread that out so you're not fatiguing any body part too much. All right, that is bang on the dot. 20 minutes, but please pop any comments in. I'll go in and answer those, and try this. Anytime you try this, whether it's next week or in the next month, come and share the lesson plan in here. That will absolutely make my day, to see the lesson plan, to answer any questions you have on it. And if you do the class, let me know how you get on. I'll put that link up for you next. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you next week. We will have Troubleshoot Tuesday on Tuesday, where you get to ask for any help you need. Wellbeing Wednesday, that's 5 minutes for your own care. Pop the champagne Thursday. Remember, go back and read from yesterday, and your weekly live show on Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Much, much love to you. Bye.